Hi, this is Douglas Cavers. Welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe. I am giving lessons for sliding scale 30 to 60 hours, $30 to $60 an hour. This is just a taste of the School of Uncovering the Voice and my business, Singing for Health, and my channel, Godfrey Singing for Health. So we continue to read Uncovering the Voice by Werbeck, Werbeck Svedström. Last week we talked about how it's not a good idea to think about breathing. I am going to breathe in now. No, because that unites us further with our body. And she continues. So just to update, so here's the book. As little as the respiration process should be noticed in all ordinary daily activities of a healthy human being, just as little should it disturb us in singing. However, to understand this fully, we must come to a new, truthful view of the essential nature of this process of breathing. More exactly, we must gain knowledge of how it operates in our time. And then she talks about observation and how geniuses can look at things that lots of other people see, but can find the laws of the universe through their insight, like Galileo and the swinging church lamp of Pisa, with the pendulum, learning the laws of the pendulum. And so we can observe the respiratory process. Let us first put this question: what role is played by the element of the air in relation to the sound element, the tone? Is it really so, as many people see it, that we form the tone from the air? And even if we upset all views on this subject, both scientific and lay, we must answer this question with a decisive no. Air, the breath, fulfills quite another function in relation to the sound stream, the tone. It gives a kind of living, flowing, yet resistant medium, so that the sensibly inaudible tone can enter the realm of the audible. So here we have something interesting. From inaudible to the audible. Rudolf Steiner once used this image. As man stands on the earth, so the tone stands on the flowing element of the air. Just as man could not be there without the earth beneath his feet, so the tone would fall through if the air stream did not prevent it from continuing to move in the inaudible realm. In order to stand on the earth, we do not need to create ourselves each time out of earth. No more do we create or form the tone out of air each time. The tone has actual being. It exists of itself. The flowing stream of air is the element which carries it and makes it audible. Here the emphasis belongs on the word flowing, for it is the movement of the air which is of importance. It is through our ability to move air in ourselves that we can sing, in fact, that we can live at all. In breathing, what we really need is not the air in itself, but the movement of the air. In singing as well, it is the moving of the air that matters, not as present-day singing teaching believes. The amount of air we breathe in and out, air which we then gather into a more or less motionless, compact, supporting column. We should remember that we are far from breathing just with the lungs. We breathe with the entire surface of our skin as well. 2% of our breathing is through the skin, at least. With babies, the skin breathing is 70%. Yeah, so we breathe with our entire bodies if we are healthy. Yeah, so that's what we want to get back to. With our natural breathing, we can breathe with our entire bodies. And I really do feel when I do that MF, yeah, let's turn and do it. Yeah, so we've got the So when I do that exercise, I feel a breathing through the skin of my chest, through my legs even. Yeah. Try it. Do it. If it doesn't do anything for you, then of course this is, that's fine. But try it. Yeah. All right. So please subscribe to my channel. I offer lessons $30 an hour, $30 to $60 an hour. And the breathing is behind, correct breathing, natural breathing is behind our singing. Many of the problems that we have with our singing is because we do not breathe naturally. Yeah. So let's see, is there any more that we can read here? Because I was reading it out in the sunshine today. So where were we? Yeah. Yeah. Was it Emperor Claudius? Emperor Claudius painted his servants in gold, and they died in 24 hours. Yeah. Because their skin couldn't breathe. Now, and this is what Christian Böhler, my teacher, was saying. They needed a breathing hole between their shoulder blades. So right here, there is a place here that needs to be unpainted. And if Claudius had painted his servants without covering that part, they would have survived. So skin breathing is really important. This very air which streams in and out through the epidermis, the skin, is at least as important as the lung air stream. And as you go through the course, as you go through the school, you will develop something quite interesting. So Christian Berle was talking to me at the beginning of my training, and he said, "So, where does your singing originate from? Where does the sound of your singing originate from?" And I said, "Well, of course, from the voice box, right?" "Yeah." "Okay." So then we worked for about a year, I think it was. And he asked me again, "Where is the origin of your singing? Where does the sound come from?" And I went to here, but then I thought, no, it doesn't, not really. I don't hear it from coming from here. I actually hear it from about here. And so Valborg Werbeck talks about a reflected tone, which sounds as though the space around the human being were sounding. The objective tone, in other words, would not be able to become manifest if it were not borne along and made audible by this air stream as well, which flows unnoticed in, out, and all around the human being. So not only do we have the aura, we also have an etheric, a life force around us that carries with it our tone if we sing as naturally as we can. Through this schooling, this is possible. Obviously, we cannot dispense with the lung air stream, right? You have to breathe air in to your lungs. But we ought not to forget that it represents one part of the whole process. And above all, we must be clear that it may not be subject to any principle, but the whole process itself, which is governed by the basic principle of movement or rhythm. In fact, it is rhythm. Yeah, so the whole process of respiration, the whole process of breathing is rhythm. Yeah, we breathe in a rhythm, in and out. The fact that the lung breathing process has fallen out of the whole process of respiration. So what she's saying is that sometimes we breathe like we get stressed out, or oh no, it's usually anxiety of some kind, right? It affects our breathing. And so if we can come back to the rhythm of breathing. So the lung, more precisely, she says, the lung breathing process has fallen out of the unified rhythm of the whole process. Today it leads a more or less independent existence as an estranged part of the whole, because we have forced, both voluntarily and involuntarily, right? So sometimes we think about our breathing and we force it to change its rhythm, but also when we are anxious. So we have forced other rhythms onto it, formed out of our individual difficulties. From this, it follows that our task must be to join the lung breathing process into the whole process of respiration again. That is, we must strive consciously to bring lung breathing into the unified rhythm of the whole respiratory process by working with the air in the right way. Now, if the breathing process may not penetrate into consciousness, as we have shown, nevertheless, it will be understandable that in order to retain it, we are forced to deal consciously with it for a time. Only the important question is how. So, yes, we do need to use our intellect, but how? Yeah, to come back to natural breathing, we have to use our thinking. In artistic performance, any previous training must be forgotten. So, if one has become habituated to a false mode of respiration, ways and means must be found by which one can wean oneself from it and acquire the correct one. How is this to be done? We will achieve this correct mode of respiration when we succeed in strengthening the unified rhythm of the breathing process by means of appropriate movements. Little by little, the total process will attain the strength to draw the lung breathing process back into its original rhythm, incorporating it into the whole. To execute movements, however, we need the help of our muscular system. Hence, for this task, we must look for the muscles which serve us in making these rhythmic movements so that we can strengthen them and bring them to life. Yeah, so this is why when you are doing your MF, you work with your natural rhythm, right? So I breathe in when my body wants to breathe in. And then I move the muscles of my body when I feel that the breathing, that the air is coming in. Right? And that's why my mouth has to be open. Yeah, because I can taste the air coming through. I'm more aware of the air coming in contact with my tongue than if I were just to breathe with my nose. Yeah. Okay. If we could learn to stop clinging to the air itself, as when we try to take in as much air as we can. Yeah. Gasping. Sometimes when we're singing, you think, oh, I don't have enough air. Right? So it's like a panic thing, and we break up the rhythm of our natural breathing. So if we could learn to stop clinging to the air itself and let the breathing process itself determine the amount of air it needs, then we would already have taken a big step towards our goal and would not have to go any more roundabout ways. However, a great deal of experience has shown that we cannot accomplish this without auxiliary means. It is the rhythmic element that has proved the most helpful. We should do breathing exercises thus. In singing, we must set in motion specific muscles which play a primary role in the physiology of breathing and which will have a direct influence on in and exhalation, and their movements should have a definite rhythmic character. While doing this, we should let the experience of these rhythmic movements come to the foreground of our consciousness, concentrating completely on the rhythm. In other words, to approach the breathing process in singing, we must clothe it in rhythmic movements. In this way, our consciousness is turned away from the breathing, and the question of the quantity of air used recedes into the background by itself. The outer air which we breathe in can be experienced in a certain way as dead matter. But when we take it into ourselves and set it in motion, it changes. Like everything we incorporate, it becomes alive. So what she's referencing there is what Rudolf Steiner was saying, is that when you take food in, you spiritualize it. You don't just break it down. We because we are spiritual beings living in a physical body, we spiritualize the entire body. Our bodies would be completely different if we didn't have our higher self, our spiritual self, our ego with a capital E, not lower ego, higher ego, the higher self that's connected to Christ, the Christ impulse. Anyway, let's not go to the Christ part, but the point is that we spiritualize whatever we take into our bodies because we are spiritual beings. Yeah? I'm excited by that. Continually permeating dead matter with life, passing it through ourselves and giving it out again. In this activity, we experience the true being of the breathing process. Only through this principle can we learn to really understand and guide the respiratory process. Thus, when we do away with breathing exercises relating to the greatest possible intake of air and turn our activity while singing towards those muscles primarily related to breathing movements, which muscles these are, we will see directly, energizing and making them supple by linking their activity with the rhythm, then the respiratory processes will gradually recede out of our consciousness. And finally, we will experience the real fulfillment of this requirement. The breathing process should disturb us as little in singing as in all other daily occupations. And that's coming back to what we were saying before, right at the beginning of this video. Yes, let's stop there. My daughter has a cold. Thank you for watching this video, and please put your comments below. For me, this is interesting. I hope you find this interesting too. All right, see you in a few days.